beautiful evening. The beauty in this beautiful fog. Everything has its moment. I want to have my contemplation now about the subtlety of clinging. Once the identity of being a separate person has been dropped, and you're kind of in the present moment, and that present moment is so precious. It's like that's where life is, really. In the present is now. The whole universe is buzzing now. It's like creation is happening now. Everything's now. But to the conditioned mind, it's all in the past and the future. And the past and the future is where suffering resides. And suffering is really caused by clinging, right? Clinging to an outcome, clinging to a certain desire that you want made happen. Craving, clinging. The root cause of suffering. I mean, just realizing this alone, I think, is enough. Maybe, just to have a kind of happy life. But it's very, very hard, of course. Very hard to not cling to something, because you're kind of like in the matrix, and it's all been organized to encourage craving and clinging. And of course, when you have relationships, then relationships demand certain things to be done for the relationship to be sustained. Of course, there must be some beautiful relationships where they're just very natural, and people can just be what they have to be, and just being there for someone is beautiful, without any expectation. Anyway, so clinging and craving, the cause of karma and suffering. In its gross form is a major cause of problems and suffering, but I want to talk about now the subtle forms of clinging and craving that happens after you realize that you are not who you think you are. I don't want to say, realize the absolute self, because kind of like that is a mighty statement, and a mighty thing for people to comprehend. But let's just say, once you realize that what you thought you were is just a bunch of concepts and ideas and conditioning, and you believe that to be you, and basically live your life in complete ignorance of the truth. And once you realize that, and that drops off, it's like discarding an old coat, just throwing it away, basically. Oh, there's sheep are listening to me. Hello, sheep. These sheep are very attentive. Look, they're all looking. Oh, they're probably scared. They're scared of being... Oh, well. So yeah, coming back to the point. So once you've discarded that false self, you can't actually. It's let me try and rephrase that, because you can't actually discard a false self. I mean, who is the you that's discarding what? Or let's say just. I think the better way to say it is, once the false self is discarded via a process that happens spontaneously, I mean, there has to be some effort. Obviously, meditation is probably the best effort one can put into it. Or faith. Deep faith in God, maybe. Like the faith that kind of makes you forget who you are, but that's very rare as well. So meditations are definitely an accessible technique, tool that one can use to come to the stage where the false self can be discarded, and what's revealed underneath is your true nature, your true manifested nature, basically. And that's free. That true manifested nature is just living in the moment. It's just like now, It might move through life and create and do all sorts of things, but it's not attached to the outcome. And by not being attached to the outcome and not clinging and craving, it's free. So it can enjoy everything and be attached to nothing. And therefore, because of that alone, there's no suffering. Regardless of whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, because it's all passing anyway. It's arising and falling. That's the nature. That's a nature phenomena. It arises and passes away. That we just got to look around nature, in fact, and that happens relentlessly. The seasons. So, being conscious in the phenomenal world, the nature is that. It's impermanence, and one has to be at peace with that. One has to be at peace with impermanence, otherwise, let's just say you're fucked. Because you're surely going to be coming into some disappointments when things don't go your way, and so the clinging basically is like a major problem, and which leads to karma and suffering and all sorts of crap. Basically, it goes on and on endlessly in the cycles of birth and death and all sorts of shit. But now, let's say that you've realized that truth, and you dropped out of the false self, or rather, the false self's dropped off you. That's a better way to put it. The false self's dropped off you, and your true nature's been revealed. And living in total realization with that true nature, you are just aware. You're aware. Oh, look at the sound of that water, beautiful. So you're aware of being, just aware of beingness. And that being aware of beingness is just where bliss is, and beauty and serenity and peace. Peace. Seems to be such a elusive commodity, but it really is so simple to be peaceful. I keep drifting away from the point I'm trying to make. Yeah, so let's assume that you dropped your shadow, your false self, and now you are in the beingness of consciousness. There still seems to be some sort of subtle forms of clinging around there that one has to be very careful about. The mind is very clever. It's kind of like it lays some very subtle traps to seduce you back into being a human again, or a man, or a woman, or a false entity. I don't know why it does that, really. I mean, maybe it's a game. Maybe it's just a game, actually. The whole thing is a fucking game, maybe. But anyway, regardless of that, the clinging, those kind of subtle forms of clinging is what one has to be aware of at that stage, because you can think, oh wow, la-di-da, I'm kind of like in La La Land now, and I'm all really happy, blissed out, and I'm kind of beautiful, and it's just like great. I'm totally in love with everything and all there is, and before you know it, bang, something comes and sets you off, some sort of subtle clinging, where you kind of think you are some sort of far out person, or maybe some seduction towards another person, or maybe some kind of something you want to do that you think is going to be great for everyone else. And I don't know, maybe those kind of like subtle forms of identification still exist, lurking in the dark corners of the mind. Because that's the nature, right? There's darkness, there's light. If you don't want that nature, then one has to completely drop into the absolute, and the absolute is all there is. And once you're in the absolute, then there's no awareness of yourself, so you're dead practically to the world anyway. You might be alive, but you just don't. There's no you, there's no I in there. Well, that's I suppose is what enlightenment is. But before that stage, anyway, and that stage cannot be accomplished or achieved by any kind of effort on your behalf. It just has to happen automatically, because there is no human being. There's no being. In fact, there is no being. It's an illusion. It's like everything is just a concept in the mind of God. And therefore, because God or the absolute is all there is, everything's alive. It's such a beautiful evening. Yeah, and so the subtle forms of clinging have to be identified, and because what could happen here is that when you're in a state of bliss, and you're loved up and blissed out, and kind of just like look, like for now, I just want to listen to that water, and just the sound of that water is like a rhythm. It's like music. Yeah. So kind of like the clinging, one could crave for those kind of experiences, like you just want to be blissed out all the time, But who knows what's around the corner? I mean, there could be some darkness that is also part of life, and as a realized awareness, you're just supposed to pass through that as well, without any aversion or without any hassle. You still stay as you are, basically, and of course that's going to pass as well, because it all passes, just like the breath. You breathe in and you breathe out, and that's it, really. That's the whole essence of existence, in a way. Well, phenomenal existence. Phenomenal existence, what's that? That's nature. That's kind of like what is perceived outside of yourself. So the lesson of the day today for me, I think, is clinging. Subtle as stone. It's not clinging, because I luckily right at this moment in time don't have that problem at the moment for some reason. But maybe there's a kind of like subtle tendencies lurking there, waiting to pounce on you. Ow! Kind of like take you on, and then re-establish and reorganize an identity around you. Yeah, kind of reorganize an identity around you. That sounds pretty good, actually. And it could happen pretty quickly, relentlessly, bang, before you know it, you're lost again. And so yeah, craving and clinging, major problems. Major problems for identified situations, but even problems for real-life situations as well, because but subtle kind of subtle forms of craving and clinging that just there, you know, just there. Quite a nice contemplation, I guess. These sheep seem to have wool on them, which is good. They haven't been sheared, but I saw some sheep up the hill earlier on, and they were like shaved up. They were shaved off, and they didn't look very happy at all. They looked like they were violated, and I saw them, and they looked at me, and they looked really pissed off, and they you know, and they were looking at me, and they looked really kind of like angry, and well, they felt violated, right? They felt like someone's come here and taken all my hair off without my permission, you know. And these guys seem to be, so far they've survived anyway, the violation. Hope, but it won't be long before someone comes and does them as well. But anyway, those sheep, then I said to them, don't worry about it, it'll grow back. It'll grow back. That's nature. Yeah, that's nature. Soul, impermanent, comes and goes. And if you're at peace with that, then it's beautiful. It's great. It's really cool. If you're not at peace with that, then you're fucked, basically. That's my tune then, I think, for today. Yeah. Gosh, look at these mozzies. Are they mosquitoes? Dancing under the fog. Oh. See, I kind of have a tendency not to like them, but you know, they are what they are, and they're also beautiful. Not that I'm going to delight in them for far too long before they bite the fuck out of me. But I shouldn't swear so much these days. That's one thing I need to be aware of, maybe. But I guess, like, the word fuck now is not really a kind of bad word anymore. I heard that it's kind of like, it's actually in the dictionary now even. And it's lost its kind of badness about it. So I hope it, but you know, nevertheless it's not nice to say these kind of words too often, I guess. It's better to be nice, and you know, I was so used to speaking like that in the city, and kind of anyway, let's call it a day or a night.